listening to the Marketing and Yoga Pants podcast, a podcast in sisterhood for female entrepreneurs that serves up savvy, actionable marketing advice and interviews with creative business owners who are in the trenches, building their businesses as we speak. The Marketing and Yoga Pants community is for you, the girl on her couch, in her yoga pants, top knot tight, hunched over her MacBook, trying her hardest to get the word out about her business. So in the name of supporting each other while supporting ourselves, bringing community, sound marketing advice, coffee, chocolate, and wine together for you, yoga pants wearing business owner, in a world where followers mean nothing, but paying customers mean the world, join us on this week's podcast episode and in our private Facebook group where you'll meet your soul sisters and build your business in yoga pants. Welcome back to another episode of the Marketing and Yoga Pants podcast. I'm Brit and I'm here today with Jackie Stoughton, founder of Jade and Oak. Thank you so much for joining me today, Jackie.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so Jackie and I just met on this call, and I know she's got some good stuff to bring to us, a topic that we don't often get to talk about a whole lot here on the podcast. So I'm pumped to get to chat with her today, get some insight into her industry, her business, her marketing strategy, and what makes it all tick. So Jackie, are you ready to jump in?
Yeah, I'm excited.
All right, let's do this. Okay, so first of all, you've got to tell us, how do you earn your living?
I actually have a day job and then I have my side hustle, which is Jade and Oak. So I know a lot of people sort of have their full-time business. So my day job is at a bank. I'm an attorney and work in the estates and trust group of a bank locally. So that's kind of my day job. And then I started my website as my side hustle. It started as a blog about 6 years ago. And it was just sort of a hobby. And then it sort of has grown. And now on my website, since I have a legal background, I provide legal information and templates and courses and information guides and all sorts of things dealing with the legal side for bloggers and business owners.
So cool. And that blog is all about legal as well, right? What's the website really about? What do you provide?
So the website, like I said, it started as a lifestyle blog, and I was working at a law firm at the time. I was bored and didn't feel very creative. So I started a lifestyle blog where I just kind of talked about a little bit of everything. I think a lot of people had lifestyle blogs, maybe, that range like 6 to 10 years ago. It was more of a hobby. And then I wanted to grow it a little bit more, monetize it. And I noticed that no one else was really talking about the legal side, especially for bloggers or small business owners. People talk about it for, larger businesses. So at that point, I started sharing blog posts about terms and conditions and privacy statements and contracts and those sorts of things to see, if this would be helpful for people. And now the blog is sort of a part of it, but a lot of it is kind of the legal information with my courses and the legal templates that I have.
Very cool. Okay. So it's not often where we get to speak with someone on the podcast who has a totally legit day job and is doing their business on the side. And it sounds like you've been doing this not for just like a couple months, you've been doing this for quite a few years. So take us all back and tell us the story of how you got here and what it looks like on a day-to-day doing both of those things.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's another thing I've noticed. So I think that makes me a little bit different is a lot of people go from day job, transition, sort of build their business, and then they move towards their business full time. And that wasn't my goal. It's not my goal right now. Maybe that'll change in the future. But right now I'm kind of content having kind of the best of both worlds. About 6 years ago or so, I was working at a law firm, a couple years out of law school. It wasn't really my cup of tea. I didn't feel very fulfilled or creative. So started the lifestyle blog as just really a hobby. And then probably maybe 3 years ago or so, I got more serious about it. I was doing a little bit here and there with monetizing, but I just thought I had a lot more to offer but didn't really want to quit my day job, and then just was growing my side hustle, my business on the side and wanting to see where it was going to go. I've been with the bank that I'm at now for about 2.5 years. Kind of as the business is growing, I've been at this job, and it's a balance. And I go to my day job, every day, and obviously have my responsibilities there. And then it's nice having my side hustle where I get really creative and motivated a couple months. I kind of hustle on a couple things I want to work on. And then if I'm feeling not as motivated, or I'm going on vacation, or I'm busier at my day job, I can really scale it back. And it's been working so far. It's sort of a supplement to my income. I get to learn different things, marketing and website things and, social media and all of that. And I like that aspect of continuing to learn basically like what I want to learn about. And if I don't feel like learning about it, then, it's just my business. So I can kind of keep it where is comfortable for me.
It's like the Elizabeth Gilbert idea of, if you put so much pressure on your creativity doesn't want that. It doesn't thrive under pressure. And so it sounds like you've found a balance for yourself that allows the best of both worlds in your world. Does that feel true?
Yeah, definitely. Because I think if I had the 100% pressure of my business is my full-time income and it's all or nothing, I think that would freak me out, or maybe it would make me feel less creative because I would feel so much pressure. I've never been a very businessy person, I guess. So I have to kind of work at that, the marketing and strategy and all of those things. So I like that when I'm feeling it, I can do it, but I'm still getting my paycheck. I'm going to my day job and I have that sort of stability. I can tend to get crazy if I stay home by myself all the time. So I like having sort of a schedule, and the place I'm at now is really great. We have good vacation and good benefits. So I still get a break from my day job as well. And I'm actually pregnant now.
Congratulations.
So thank you. So earlier this year, when I was, first trimester and just not wanting to do anything, I would go to work and I would come home and I'd watch TV and go to bed and, check my work or my business emails once or twice a week. Cause I was like, I'm just not feeling it right now. I'm tired. So it was nice having that sort of balance. So kind of planning ahead now for maternity leave and see what that looks like. So
this is cool in my mind. And I do want to talk about personality a little bit here because that's what I do. But for me, I've never been able to find that balance. And I see other people doing it so beautifully. And I think sometimes this might not be, I don't know, this is just me thinking out loud, but I think when we're watching people grow businesses, there's a louder bunch who start their business, they leave their job, they do it. It's like their one thing and that's like their thing and they're going for it, right? And they're the louder bunch working on their businesses. But there's a whole other subset of people who don't necessarily need it to be all of that. They can have this business in every right. It's a true business. Like sometimes it's called a side hustle, whatever. At the end of the day, it's a business. And so kudos, right? Like you're a business owner and you're not putting pressure on it to make or break your life, basically. And I've never been of that mindset. I do tend to be of the louder bunch, but I'm super pumped to have you here to be the voice for the other group who I can just guarantee there's someone listening thinking like, oh, that's an option, because sometimes it feels like the only way to do it is to start your side hustle and the end goal, like you're not doing it right unless you have a plan to leave your job. Like if you have a side hustle and you have no plan to leave your job, it's like you're doing it wrong. And that's not true at all.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I don't even know if I've met that many people online who are sort of in my position, or maybe, I just haven't kind of talked to them about that. But it does seem like most people I meet are saying, I hate corporate. I hate my day job. I just want to work for myself. I totally get that. But I don't see as many people who are content maybe with the day job plus the sort of side business. And I'm not sure why that is, or maybe there's a lot of people out there and they're just not talking about it because they think they're doing it wrong. Like you said, that they think that they should be all in, if they don't quit their job and make their business their full time, they're not, a true entrepreneur or a true business person. It's whatever's right for people. For me, I just don't feel that right now. I don't feel like I want to quit my job and go all in on my business. But at the same time, I like having my business and I like having that sort of flexibility to push myself in the business as much as I want or as little as I want. Like I said, if I'm feeling tired or it's just different seasons in life where you just want to take sort of a break. So yeah, I'd be interested to hear from people who are doing the same thing or are thinking about doing the same thing. They like their job, but they want to do something on the side creatively. So yeah, I think we're out there. It's just we're quieter maybe.
Yeah, that's cool. So as you've found this balanced blend for yourself, and as you've said, it kind of looks different depending on the season of life you're in. As you've found that for yourself, it also sounds like you've built the side business specifically so it can be that way. So it doesn't take over your life. It doesn't take over your professional energy and professional focus. Can you take us into how you've managed to do that in your business model?
Yeah, I wasn't sure, I guess, whenever I started my business or took it from just being a blog to more of what it is now with the legal information and everything. I wasn't sure how to start because I was seeing people who, were maybe graphic designers or something, and it seems to flow. I have this interest, I'm going to do graphic design and people are going to hire me. And then maybe I'll do a course about graphic design or I'll have, kind of a la carte options for people or something like that. It's hard with the legal side because I'm only licensed in Pennsylvania. And if I am providing someone's contract or something like that, it's the practice of law. They might be in a different state. There's legal malpractice issues. So it was a lot harder to come up with my business model because I knew there were people out there who needed legal help, but it was hard to figure out how to do that within the constraints of the legal profession. It's not a typical, like being a freelance writer or something like that. I sort of started with the legal education side of things with blog posts, and my goal was to make a course to teach people about the legal side as opposed to answering, questions here and there. So answering the big questions for someone who wasn't even sure where to start with keeping things legal. So the course model is obviously really nice. I have it set up as evergreen so people can sign up and go at their own pace. And I thought about having kind of office hours or things like that, but just with my day job, it wasn't going to work for me. So I just scrapped that idea and kind of moved on. And then I also have legal templates, which are basically, the different statements for your website or contracts. And they are educational because they're templates. So I'm giving you the information and you are customizing the templates for your business. And then it's outside of that realm of legal advice. So it's a fine line, but kind of that's what's working for me now. And that's really good too, because that's automated. People can just go into my shop and they can buy those items. So those two things I think are the best way for me to provide information, but not my time,
Right.
One-on-one with people.
Makes total sense. Okay, so what I want to dig into here, and I just had a conversation about this recently with another guest. We hit on this in the interview with Abigail and Emily about how the life of creating or the business of creating courses and informational products, it seems really sparkly and pretty, but when you get into it, if you shift into it from doing one-on-one client services or you just from the get-go want to do that, it does get harder than you think it's going to be. But being that you do that now, I have a feeling that there was a time where you were simply creating really good content about this stuff. Is that true? Like, did you spend time blogging about this stuff before you tried to sell the education?
Yeah, definitely. I think that was sort of me testing to see, does anyone care? Are people going to read about this? Or do they want to learn more? And it's hard because it's also not a very flashy, exciting topic, talking about the legal side of things and contracts and all of that. So I kind of tested the waters and started with some free content, on my blog, some free email courses to kind of start people on the path where they are starting to even think about this topic, because it's not something you immediately think you need to know about maybe, or excited to learn about. Kind of letting people see my information and my background and my experience through free content, which I still have. I have a couple other free email courses, obviously lots of blog posts and freebies and downloads and all of those sorts of things. So I think that's a good way to start, because you can see if people care, if they're repinning your content, if they're leaving blog comments, this was helpful, all of those sorts of things before you spend a lot of time. Because course creation is really time consuming. And then it is about, marketing it and getting people to find it and pay for it. So it's that balance of, making sure that it's something people want, but it's also something that they will want to pay for, because the internet, as we all know, like there's so much free stuff out there that it can be hard sometimes to get people over to the paying side of things.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's very similar to what we talked about with Abigail and Emily. And also, it's getting people to see you as an educator on the topic. They don't just see that you're a lawyer and you have all these credentials, but you've also spent time educating, even if they weren't around and reading your blog or taking the email courses or anything like that. Maybe they just stumbled upon you through Pinterest or however, but then they click over to your website and they see it's not that you just have a bunch of credentials in this course. You've been writing and educating on this extensively, and now you have a course, right? It's like there's this reputation thing that has to happen for this. I don't want to say it has to happen like that, because I'm not one for rules, but it just seems like that's the case. It probably helped out a lot for you. And now I want to shift and understand, when you first started offering these paid products, like the courses and guides, whatever you're selling on your website, when you first started doing that, how did you market them? What did that look like?
So for me, I think whenever I started my course and was just starting to kind of build up towards that, I started with webinars. I think it was probably like 2 or 3 years ago. Webinars were really big, and I think people were signing up for them. I don't know how I feel about webinars now. I've hosted some and they've been sort of a mixed bag, but I think at the beginning, that was a really good way for me to talk directly to my audience. I wasn't doing video. I'm not totally comfortable with doing video, but I've gotten used to it. So I think that was a really good way, because a blog post can be dry and you're trying to get, all the information out there for someone, but them seeing you on video and hearing your voice and everything, I think makes you a little more approachable. And especially with the legal side, I think people hearing about it and maybe seeing my slides and being able to interact with me makes it less dry and less scary than reading, just blog posts or emails or something. So I think that was really helpful. And then along with, like I said, with the blog posts, I was trying to provide some, downloads, content upgrades where people would be able to sort of take that information away and remember me as someone who kind of provided something of value to them. So I think that was kind of how I started. And then maybe like a year or so into that, moving more into like email marketing. But it's still kind of a process. I sort of go through phases where, it's more social media for a while. Sometimes it's more email, but I think webinars were the way that I really started to get myself out there more.
Mm-hmm. And then what do you see working for yourself right now? And I'm going to preface that with, it sounds like because of the phase of life you're in right now, it's different, right? Like every phase looks a little different, and that's okay. So what does it look like right now as you're marketing your stuff?
So right now, I feel like for a while I was doing sort of the webinars and kind of getting myself out there, but also creating extra content, still posting a lot on my blog, still creating new templates, kind of building up my template library. And now I'm in more of a phase of doing things like this, going onto podcasts, kind of getting my name out there, trying to connect with my audience a little bit more on social media, making myself more of a, hopefully I'm the person you think of if you have legal questions or legal issues. So I think I'm kind of in that phase now. I sort of built up what I was selling for a while and free content. And now I'm more in the phase of, kind of getting myself out there. And I think, again, with the phase that I'm at in my life right now, doing a podcast interview is a lot more fun than creating a bunch of templates or things like that. And then my plan, maybe we'll see how I feel when I'm on maternity leave, is to kind of brainstorm, where I want to go next, kind of the beginning to like middle of next year. So right now I'm just talking to people on Instagram and going on podcasts and that sort of thing.
Very cool. There's a lot of permission being given in how you're explaining where you're at. I just feel at ease. I just feel like there's not a lot of pressure in this situation. And that's really cool. It's a breath of fresh air. There's grace and permission. And it's just like, okay, like it can change, it can shift. It can be what it needs to be at the time. And even if we are expecting our business to give us all of our income, at the end of the day, I don't think any of us started a business to be completely strapped to it and it be like the bane of our existence and be a super big, huge headache. And unfortunately, sometimes I think when we are told like business is hard, entrepreneurship is hard, we make it harder than it needs to be. And so whether you're a full-time entrepreneur or not, it's ours, right? Like we get to call the shots, amen. And it can go where we need it to go in our phases of life, which is super cool. And I love that you're showcasing that in how you're doing business and how you're marketing it and how you're just showing up in the world. I really appreciate that. So I'm curious.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome. I'm curious to know, especially is this your first child? Is this like your first?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So exciting. Oh my gosh. So I'm curious to know, where is your focus at right now within your business? And as we're coming down to the end of 2018, what does 2019 seem to look like, at least right now?
Yeah, I'm sort of figuring it out, and I'm in a brainstorming sort of phase. And like we were just saying, kind of giving yourself grace and the permission to be in those sort of ups and downs in your business. Part of me is going to wait and see, how I feel. I think I actually have about 4 months off from maternity leave from my day job. So that's a very nice leave. I'm very lucky and excited. So I'm interested to see how I do with that, because I don't sit still. I go to work and I come home and I like to work on projects and, do lots of different things with my business, even if I'm just emailing people or on social media or something. So I'm interested to see how that goes. It's going to be kind of the end of 2018 into the beginning of 2019. See if I can sit still and do nothing and just, do sort of home things, or if I'm going to mix in brainstorming for my business, maybe, kind of coming up with business plans and those sorts of things. So I think that'll be interesting to see. I anticipate that I'm going to be doing some sort of businessy things because I might just go stir crazy otherwise. So my tentative plan for end of 2018 into early 2019 is to kind of brainstorm and come up with where I see kind of my business going in 2019. Because once I do go back to my day job, I'll be having a day job, I'll be having my side business, and I'll have a baby at home. So trying to figure out the balance there. But I'm hopeful, and I think, I'll be able to balance everything. And I think that'll be a good thing. And again, I won't be so crazy because I'm only in one, kind of like wearing one hat. I'll have like the options to do kind of the different roles I'm in. So We'll see. I have no idea basically what 2019 is going to look like, but I'm excited and I'm sure I'll be very busy regardless. So,
Yeah, I think when you said that you don't want to just sit, I think all the moms probably were like, oh, honey, you probably won't be sitting.
I know. People probably listening to this like, oh, you are crazy.
It's a different use of your mind, right? Especially when you're geared to think like professionally and business minded, that it almost gets louder the moment you can't use it. Right. So I totally understand what you mean of like stir crazy, even though if your body's like moving and you're doing things, that other part of our brains as entrepreneurs is just getting louder and louder. Yes, definitely resonates. Well, that's exciting. And it's, again, I have to point out, there's so much grace and permission happening here where you're just like, yeah, I don't know. And I'm open to seeing what that is. It's just, I dig it. I like that a lot.
Yeah. If I were to make a concrete plan, it's not going to happen because I say, oh, I'm not going to want to sit around. I'm going to plan to work 20 hours a week on my business. And then that doesn't happen. And I'm disappointed in myself. Or I say, no, I'm only going to focus on the baby. I don't want to touch my laptop, and then I'll feel guilty if I change my mind. So I think it's just kind of like seeing what happens. Because I think, especially in this situation, there's no way I can plan for, what's going to happen. And luckily, this isn't my full-time income. So if things go well and I want to be busy and I'm able to do things, that's great. And if not, I have my other income to kind of get me through, and then we'll sort of see where we go from there.
Right. So good. Okay. Well, that is really exciting. I can't wait to watch how that all unfolds. And I'd love to wrap up and just hear your answer to this one, because you've been at this side business for 6 years now. And I'd love for you to look back and tell us what advice you would give to yourself when you were first starting your creative blog, right? Just that's what it was. It was a creative outlet. That girl on her couch, hunched over her MacBook, trying to figure this stuff out. What would you say to her?
I would say it's a lot of work. Whenever I started my blog, I was reading so many things from people saying, it's a lot of work. These people who are making money and all of those things, it doesn't come overnight. So I would tell myself it is a lot of work, but it's doable and it's worthwhile. So I think that's important, because I think sometimes when you're just starting out and you aren't sure of your direction, you put a lot of pressure on yourself and you see somebody else and you think, oh my gosh, we started our blogs at the same time and now they're so much bigger than me or whatever. So I think, you put in the work and, it's worthwhile, and just kind of be open to see where things go.
Yes, that's really good advice. Thank you for that. Okay, so before we go, could you please tell the listeners where they can find you online?
Sure. So my website is jadeoak.com and everything is on there. Like I said, free email courses and blog posts and freebies and all of that. And then I do have my paid content as well, which is my e-courses to learn about the legal side of things, and then lots of templates to get you started with the legal information that you need. And I'm on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and on Pinterest. My names are different on each of those, but they're all linked from my website.
Perfect. JadeOak.com. That's where you're going. All right. You heard her, girls. Go check her out, send her some love, and then hop into our private Facebook group to hear even more from her over the next few days. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Marketing in Yoga Pants podcast. Keep the conversation going by visiting marketinginyogapants.com/Facebook, where you'll get to join that private Facebook group I've been talking so much about. There, you'll get to chat with our podcast guests. Yeah, they're in there too. And all of the other brilliant creative business owners. We're connecting, we're meeting our soul sisters, and we're building our businesses, all while in yoga pants. So come hang out with us. Again, visit marketinginyogapants.com/Facebook to get in. And one more thing. If you dig this podcast, Would you be awesome and share it with someone? This entire Marketing in Yoga Pants movement is nothing without its community. So please share. And if you're really feeling the love right now, jump into iTunes. You're probably already there if you're listening to this right now, and leave us a rating and review. The more of those we rack up, the more the podcast will be found by ladies like you, and the stronger this community becomes. This episode was edited and produced by the Podcast Engineers. They're pretty great, so go find them at podcastengineers.com. This episode was also brought to you by my online marketing agency, Jam Marketing Group, and you can find us at jammarketinggroup.co. That's all for now. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you back here next week on the Marketing in Yoga Pants podcast. Love ya. Bye.